Yo, what up guys, it's Flark, and welcome to a new type of video. We've got an update video for you, the current state of DK in PvP. So there's been a lot of changes, right? We've got tuning passes for our class, we've got tuning passes for other classes, we've got our whole campaign unlocked, and of course we've got tons of experience playing the game, playing each bracket, 3s, 2s, and RBGs. That helps define all of what's going on in the meta, and if anything has changed based on like what comps we should play, what we should run, if there's anything's changed in the Legendary, or just how these tuning passes affect us. So that's a lot of good questions, and I'll try and answer them best I can to keep you guys current with how DK is doing and how you should be playing DK to acquire more rating, because I'm pretty sure that's why you guys are all here, is to go up in rating, because it is a PvP-centric YouTube channel. So hopefully I can help you guys do that some more. So first we're going to talk about, we've got a lot to talk about, but first we're going to talk about the thing that I think is on everybody's mind, which is just our tuning passes. Now, Unholy, unfortunately, was very good in PvE, so that's unfortunate for the PvPers because all it got was a nerf and nothing else. Frost, however, was bad in PvE, but fantastic in PvP, so it just keeps getting buffed. So let's talk about those changes, right? First, you got a 3% damage buff, then you got a 5% damage buff, and then you got a 10% nerf to Chill Streak. So obviously a lot of people said Chill Streak nerf was not warranted, that's crap, what's going on here? But I think you guys should think about it from a different perspective. So 3% damage buff while we were already good, that was pretty awesome. A 5% damage buff to every single ability we have, all of our on-demand pressure, is really, really good. It's insanely good. We generally top damage, which is already good, and not all of it is pad anymore. Like, you used to have Frost Fever, Gushing Wound, nothing else. But now there's a new contender right here, which is 8,000 obliterates or higher. I was getting peeled all game, that's an RMP, right? If you can set up a little better, 9, 10k, you can 3-shot people pretty effectively with that and Chill Streak going. So our on-demand damage is good. So if we get a 5% damage buff to everything that we do, that's really good. So what I thought they were going to do, remember, those were for PvE. Those changes were for PvE content. So they're going to apply to PvP, but they weren't designed to buff DK and PvP. So what I thought they were going to do is what they've done in the past, where they say 5% damage buff to all abilities. This has been reduced an equal amount in PvP specific combat, right? To account for the fact that maybe we didn't need more damage. But they did something smarter, and I'm really proud of this. Another complaint was that maybe, especially in BFA, right? But even maybe a little bit now, you know, it's more fun to press your abilities and have weighted button presses, and less fun to pad with Frost Fever, right? Or maybe even Chill Streak. So it's just one button, right? You press it and you let it go, and boom, that's your setup. It's a one-button setup. People kind of enjoyed having damage more into their rotational toolkit, or having damage outside of Chill Streak. So instead of reverting the nerfs, what they ended up doing is they just nerfed that one button, right? And use that as an opportunity to start moving away from that one button and move into more of your buttons having a bigger impact. So essentially what everybody's been asking for a long time, they did it by saying, nah, we're not going to nerf it back down by 5% in PvP. We're going to just nerf Chill Streak, so it's not completely over the top, and keep those damaging abilities buffed, so they feel more impactful to press. That was a lot of words to explain why I think they did what they did. If they didn't do it for that reason, they lucked out, because I think that is the effect, and it's a very good effect. But what you guys really care about is, well, what are the changes? Does it make us better or worse? I would say definitively, in every regard, much better. 8% damage after both of those buffs to all ability presses makes us pump. Makes us pump really, really hard. And Chill Streak was kind of an overkill already. Generally, you don't even get all the bounces out of it, because if you do, they're kind of already dead. If you set up a go that gets every bounce of a 10-bounce Chill Streak, they've probably died 100 times over, because that means they've been getting cleaved by you and your partner for 10 bounces, right? So they're dead. So that 10% actually isn't that impactful, and it's an ability that will still kill. But now we just have a lot of pressure built into Pillar outside of Chill Streak. So if they all trinket and run, you can chase somebody down and kill them, which we've been doing a lot in my games right now. We are at about 3k MMR, maybe 30-50, and we have been killing people outside of Chill Streak goes. In this game, you can see it's my 3rd damage still, which means the nerf isn't too much of a problem. But of course, that button press is getting kills as well. Obliterate in this game, we ended up killing the Priest to single target damage with Obliterate outside of a Chill Streak go, which is really, really impactful. So, long story long, Frost is in a great place. Those changes, I think, were well designed, even if it was an accident by them. And I think we're actually in a better place now, much better, I would say much better place than we were post those changes. So do not fret. I see, you see your favorite ability or a very impactful ability getting nerfed. Remember all of the other things that are going on. That's 8% damage to all abilities and a 10% nerf to one that already overkilled. That's my thoughts on the Frost changes. For Unholy, like I said, you got nerfed for PvE. They haven't changed it in any way other than that. Very unfortunate for the Unholy mains, because while your output is very high, it's not the same output that blends well into this meta like we've talked about before. If they were to buff Unholy, they're not going to do it for PvE because it's still fantastic in PvE, so they would have to do it specifically for PvP. And I don't think they would buff an ability damage specifically for PvP, and their PvP talents are all actually really good and wouldn't really get a buff. So what would they have to do? They'd have to buff Necrotic Strike, right? So the definitive one, I'll pop over to that spec, which I haven't entered in a little bit of time. That is what they would have to do to give Unholy a buff specifically for PvP, because it's not getting one for PvE. This ability, right? It was nerfed heavily. We've talked about that before. It was nerfed heavily for BFA because health pools were so high, and this ability was absurd. Even at 4% in BFA, it was absurd because you could spam them out so fast with haste, and health pools were so high. It was like 30k absorption after 30k absorption every single global, and your globals were real fast. So they nerfed it for that, and they haven't unnerfed it yet. So if they were to do something, maybe we'll all tweet at Warcraft devs. If you all play Unholy, band together, my boys. If you all play Unholy and you're looking for a change, this is the only place it's going to come. They're not going to... Reanimation's not going to save you, right? And they're not going to buff Clawing Shadows specifically for PvP or any of these other abilities specifically for PvP. Not that I would guess that they wouldn't do that. So it's going to come right here. It's going to come with Necrotic Strike. It needs to be... I haven't done the math, but 43k health, 10%, that's a 4.3k per global with the damage of it. That's like 5.5k damage per global. Yeah, that's big since it's spammable. Maybe 10%. Maybe 10% is the proper number. I know 5.5k seems not very high, but when you realize that 10k obliterates in every pillar are one-shotting people, Necrotic Strike doesn't require pillar. It doesn't really require anything. You could always press it, and during your burst, you can press it over and over and over and over and over. One rune rather than two. You don't need to alternate between Killing Machine, or between Frost Strike and Rhyme Procs to get Killing Machine. You can just press it over and over. So if it does half the damage of a max press Obliterate all the time, that is a very, very good ability. Especially, and remember this, you have pets, and diseases, and blight, and A-bomb that are all doing damage while you're piling on spammable healing absorption that ignores all damage reduction, right? It ignores Pain's Up, which is fantastic right now, right? Barrier, it ignores Wall, it ignores Verse. It ignores those things because it's healing absorption, not damage. So I think 10% would be actually maybe kind of absurd, actually. Now that I'm thinking about all that, I know you guys are thinking, no, it's gotta be 20, dude. People die so fast. Red Team hit me for 20% of my health bar with every button, right? Just think about all the things that I just said. Trust me on that one. I wish I could prove it by just giving it a 10% and then playing a game and watching how hysterically fast I slaughter somebody with that. But I'd say 10% is probably a very healthy number. If they were to do it, maybe they would do 8% back up to the 8% that it was originally. I think that would actually still work. But yeah, something in that window. So like I said, that's what you're asking for. The only reason I talked about that is because otherwise there wouldn't be anything else to say for Unholy, which got no changes at all. So there's your optimism. Pray for that. Maybe tweet at them. I don't know. Does that work? Regardless, those are the changes. So what about comps? Because that's another thing that people ask me all the time. What's the current state of DK? What comps have you been running? I personally have run DK Boomy, as you can see, with the legendary Super Ts. We just ended at about 30-50 MMR. We were winning a lot of games. This comp is very good. Frost DK Boomkin. Like I said, you have on-demand damage, even outside of Chill Streak goes, but how you set it up, grip, blind, you've heard this before, grip, blind, AoE stun, beam on it against most things, especially like Priest Pally, who you can stop from walling in the stun, right? Because Priest and Pally can wall in stuns. So instead you beam them, and then you just destroy them, you get everything, and the next go, if you play with an H-Pal, grip, Hodge, he pulls up his Star Surges, 3 Star Surges with Pillar, because now you don't need the AoE stun, you don't need the big A-Bombs Limb Go, because they don't have Trinket, and generally you get Bubble in the beginning too. You're able to get Trinket with clones, Bubble with that crazy, disgusting Go in the opener. If you're not getting Bubble, then you're probably not doing your output very properly. So remember, first go, grip, blind, AoE stun, A-Bombs Limb, you get everything, you beam on top of it, you get everything out of them, and then next go, he pulls up Star Surges, you got a full Astral Power, grip, Hodge, your Pillar, Frost Strike, Obliterate, just spam your single target damage, and he presses 3 Star Surge, and the guy gets evaporated. I think I just hit my mic. So, listen for that. So that's Frost DK Boomy. You can swap to healers pretty much all the time. Otherwise, he can Root Beam a healer, and you can Hodge the DPS. That's actually a really good combo that you can do. So if you're like on a Ret, and you don't want him to get sanked, you can pull the Ret behind a Pillar, Hodge the Ret really far while he Root Beams, because it's a really good range, and now they're far from each other, and you're destroying them. They're both in 6-second CC, 3 Star Surges, your damage, Pillar. It's disgusting. So you can either do the Grip Goes that get all 3, and then you switch to healer, or you can do cross CC goes like that, where you kind of split them up so they're not in position to help each other, and then you Root Beam healer across the map, Hodge Ret, destroy them, and then you get everything there maybe, and then you can set up a grip stun go because they don't have any cooldowns, and you finish off the Ret after Bubble or Trinket or whatever you happen to get there. So different ways to play that comp. Of course, there's a million more things I could say about it, but this is not the video for that. Maybe I'll make a series called Know Your Comp or something. We'll talk very in detail about all of one specific comp. But if I did that right now, we would not be able to get any other topics of the video covered. So regardless, other comps that I played. TSG. I played with Rio on Lasman. Fantastic players. Really good comp. Really good comp, TSG. I called that one too. I called DK Boomy. I called TSG. Really happy with myself. Pat myself on the back. Those are good comps. Those are very good ones. The TSG go, very straightforward. Grip, blind, AoE stun, spear on the ground. Make sure he spears after you do that, and you're going to get everybody's cooldowns. Some of the things to note are that you have a lot of utility for a lot of different comps. RMP, you alternate your cooldowns, right? You Fear, Rally, Zone, Safeguard, Safeguard Reflect. Those are tools you have to stop goes on whoever is getting targeted. You, the warrior, the healer. You guys can peel for each other. Just don't use them all at the same time. Fear can destroy a go if it's well positioned. Rally, big rally. Even after nerfs, destroys a go. RMP against zone gets completely destroyed. Right? So instead of using all your defenses at once and all panicking, realize that you have very, very good rotational set of defensives. Kind of like DHDK of BFA. Reminds me a lot like that. Much better now than DHDK is. We'll get to that in a second. DHDK, you want to rotate zone. Or sorry, Warrior DK, you want to rotate zone, Rally, Fear, Safeguard, and then you just want to constantly set up goes. And you either have one of 2 win conditions. Kill them all in an AoE stun, which is your grip, blind, stun, spear on the ground, or do so much damage the entire time from those goes that you the healer and you just live and rot them to death, because Mortal Strike, Sharpened Blade, AoE goes, warrior damage, DK damage, and the fact that you're walling off all of their goes makes the healer go very, very quick. So, those are the two comps I've played at high MMR. The other tier 1 comp, Windwalker DK, I have not played, but pretty much everybody else has, and it plays exactly as I talked about in my comp video, so you might want to go check that out on this channel, the last video I uploaded. But same thing as Warrior, except instead of rotating your defensives like that, Windwalker can just peel and has ludicrous single target damage. So while you're missing Rally and, you know, Safeguard, Intervene, and Fear, you have, you know, Para, he can knock Ring, he can pour it out, but what you really have is Windwalker damage, which is just wild. Fist of Fury hits so hard. Whirling Dragon Punch hits so hard. Their single target damage hits so hard. Rising Sun Kick is disgusting. They hit really hard. Everybody knows that. Zuen is disgusting. The Tiger, like, people are CCing the Tiger because of how hard it hits. It's actually wild. So you just have unlimited damage. You healers, you kill them and stun goes. You grip, AoE stun, you get everybody's trinket, you grip AoE stun in after DR, because guess what? You both have an AoE stun. And that's pretty brutal. Great comp. So there's another comp, though, I would add to that S tier, and I think it's DK Ret. This content is great. Look at this. You're staring at it. You're listening to me talk. Why is this screen even here? I'll show you my versatility or whatever while we're doing this. I don't know. There's nothing to really look at. I'm just going to talk about the comps. But DK Ret, very good. He has great off heals with you, including the 20% nerf. His WOG is still absurd. It's just, it healed for so much. Of course, 20% less than so much is still kind of so much. They also have stuff to rotate. Sank for the healer, right? That's very helpful. Bop for the healer, Bop for you. Massive self-healing, disgusting damage. They also cleave a lot, especially with Shield of Vengeance, Wake. So it's really good that now your comp has an AoE stun, right? Vanguards was really suffering because they could both cleave so much, but who stands next to DK Ret, right? Nobody. So now that you actually have an AoE stun and a blind, and the blind makes them 50% slower, now that that was added to the talent. I mean, there's just so many powerful tools to get them all cleaved to death. So what you do, stop me if you've heard this one before, set up your go. Grip, blind, chill streak, AoE stun. He pops everything, you destroy them, you live until next one. You have off heals to do that. You have zone, you have survivability, you can kite, you can run, you can chains, you can peel, you can double freedom, you can stay on people. It's just a really good comp. The other thing that makes it really good is it's an HPAL destroyer. Every Hodge you have a chance to win the game. Every single one. Hodge him. Oh, fuck, I'm dead. Just, okay, he's gonna pop everything. All right, now next Hodge you can win. All right, all you have to do is make sure your A-bomb limbs pulling people in so you get a good chill streak. You can just run at the HPAL, or you can pull him in, Hodge him, chill streak while everybody's getting pulled in by A-bomb limb. He pops everything in the game. Next Hodge, grip him in, chill streak. Next Hodge, how is he still alive? I don't know. You do more damage, but next Hodge, you have A-bomb's limb again, and he should be evaporated from the face of the earth. That is an S tier comp. So, what was the point of this segment? To talk about how I've played those comps and try and add a little bit more insight into them, but also to talk about the changes to my tier list, because I've had a chance to play more. I think I rocked it. If you want to go look at the other YouTube video for reference, I made a tier list for the comps. I would say I agree still with every single call I made in that, based on the ladder, based on what I've watched, based on what I've played, except I would move DK Ret up. DK Ret, that goes up. Frost DK Ret. For Unholy, I think everything stays the same because they haven't gotten any changes at all, and they're pretty underplayed right now, so we haven't had a lot of experimentation. Sorry that the video knocks Unholy a lot. I think it's gonna be, I've had my motivational speeches in both those other videos. I still believe in all of that, but I didn't say it was gonna happen in a month. So still waiting on that one, boys. We'll rewatch those if your Unholy hearts need a little bit more filling, okay? Maybe I'll do one more in this video. But yes, I would say Frost DK Ret gets moved up to tier. Everything else is the same. I've played those comps. I think they're just as good or better. But there's no better than S tier, so they're fantastic comps. So that's comps. Again, use that other video for reference. I think they all stay the same. DK Ret goes up, and that's a little bit of insight on how to play the best ones. I'm not going to talk about each one, because that would be ridiculous. So what about Legendaries? Just a little update on that. Absolute Zero trumps everything. I think I talked about this in the PvP guide, but in case you're wondering if anything has changed, I know I get a lot of questions like, what would you run Kultiras with the buffs to 5%? Nope. What would you run? Nope. Well, how about nope? I would never swap off of this. The only thing I could possibly see running is like Sephu's Relentless on a human. Sephu's Relentless on a human? That could be pretty cool. No, I would, yeah, maybe that. Because then you would have human trinket for stuns, and you would have really good CC reduction for all the other shit that you have to sit in. For everything else, there's Mastercard. I mean, Absolute Zero. So, Absolute Zero is just unbelievable. Having an AoE stun, like I said, is a comp enabler, and it has been exact. I predicted this months before the expansion came out, and it has lived up to every expectation I said in those original videos. It is a comp enabler, it is a spec definer, it is a powerhouse. It is so important that Frost has an AoE stun. We've been looking for it. Even in Legion, when we had a wind-up AoE stun that slowly ticked up and then activated, everybody ran it because of how important it is for Frost to have an AoE stun. Now we have one on demand, no resource cost, one button, instantaneous. You run it. And it's also, as we talked, I said I've played all brackets, it's also disgusting for RBGs. In fact, it just scales up in RPGs because you have A-bombs limb pulling people in, you can grip somebody in, maybe you have 2 DKs and A-bomb limb pulls everybody in, you press AoE stun and you just stunned 10 people. Holy cow, even if you don't pull every single person in most team fights, you can angle it so you get the people in front of you and the healers in the back line. The nightmare that is dealing with a Frost DK and RBGs is just wild. So sorry to all the Unholy folks who are getting usurped in that bracket too, because they used to have like the epidemic push and you'd have necrotic strikes for like disc priest targets, and you'd have so much pad and also the necrotic strike, you'd be so good, and those were the days, right? But Frost, man, you have to play that in RPGs. It has Heartstop to an entire team, it has Blind to an entire team, and it has an AoE stun to an entire team while having disgusting on-demand damage. It is, holy cow, it is so good. Chill Streak is on top of all that too. So yeah, Absolute Zero. As for Unholy Legendaries, I'd stay, my PvP guide stays with that. I think Frenzy Monstrosity has a lot of output, right? And the AMS Legendary still has enormous power as a defensive button with Spell Eater. So you still have that if you're struggling. Okay. So that's a little bit of the touch up on anything that's changed or hasn't, like in the case of Absolute Zero, which is just disgusting. Hopefully, here's some more State of DK things. Hopefully you're getting this rep from 0 to Appreciative, so you can put sockets on your gear. I'm still going to socket those with Verse. I did not buy a crit, by the way. Still believe the same thing. Verse, then Mastery equals to Haste, then crit. I just got this from the stupid vault. So once I can put the sockets in, though, we'll put them in that. And then, of course, where's my boy? This. Yep. But, right, yeah, so you want to socket Verse. I know a lot of people are kind of maybe moving away from it since we already went over that 30% threshold. That puts your first bit of DR onto your stat. I don't think they're totally thinking through the math on that. I think versatility is far better than even 10% better than any other stat. I will be going full Verse until probably the next season, where we can reach much higher Verse numbers than that, and wait till the next season's guide for me to tell you, finally, what that number is. See, we've had a lot of people coming to my stream, coming to the Discord, asking me, well, what's this cap, or what's the soft cap, or how much Verse do you want? And I've always said, well, you want all of it. You want 100%. What are you talking about, right? I would say you want all the stat you can possibly get. But now I can actually give some metrics, since Verse, there will be finally a point where something caps. I'll be able to be like, okay, you get this stat to this percent, and this stat to this percent. And you guys can just build yourself to those numbers. unfortunately, that day is not today. And that will happen with both Frost and Unholy. So once Unholy is good, perfect, we'll be there. So that will be really excited. Unfortunately, that day is not today. So for now, I'm just going to go all in verse until the end of the season. I don't think we'll reach the point where I would cap us out, and I'm just going to go socket on every piece and get like 35% verse and do a lot of damage. Yay. And healing. Yay. So yeah, hopefully you guys got your rep, and I think you should just get sockets on every piece that you can, put verse in them, and still the verse enchants. I do not have perfectly optimal gear. Don't look at this crit gear and be like, oops, I bought the wrong boots. Yeah, let's take a look, actually. I think what I want to do, and it's probably for both specs. Where's my boy, the Enclave? Good, we actually get to do something on the game for a second. So what I would want to do is just use the fact that some of the conquest pieces have verse, and some of the conquest pieces have some of the conquest pieces have mastery, and some of them have haste, to just get that equal stat spread that I like by just doing that, right? So we would get first mastery helm, then haste first legs, then haste first boots, but then like first mastery gloves, first mastery, what was the other thing that had it? Was it shoulders? Chest, first mastery chest, right? So I don't have that yet. I hope to get it very soon from the vault, if it ever gives me any luck. And right, you can just get everything except and no crit pieces, and you'll just have an even split just like that. And you'll have verse on everything, and you'll have verse in every socket. So you're probably going to have 35% verse, like 35% mastery, and like 10% haste at BIS gear, perfectly BIS gear. So if you're looking for a number, it's somewhere around those. That'll be perfectly BIS. Come to my stream anytime. I should have that by like a couple weeks from now, and we'll see what the numbers actually look like. But yeah, that's what I would say for like gearing and socketing and all that good stuff. I think that's what we're reaching. So right. That is a lot of the things that have been going on, right? That's the tuning, that's the legendaries. So let's talk a little bit more about Unholy, which was left out a lot of the conversation since I've been playing Frost, and almost all the main DKs have been playing Frost. Almost all. It's really a lot better right now, and I know that hurts to hear. I've talked about it multiple times in videos. You guys seem like you've been cool with it for the most part. I still do love Unholy, and I will still make guides for it. And the second it becomes prominent, and here's my motivational speech, in Season 2, I will be doing all of this talk again for both specs. And all the comps that were like A tier just because Unholy was just not fast enough to keep up with this meta and then moved to S tier, those are the exciting things. I talked about that a lot. Shadow Priest Unholy, Aflock Unholy when the meta slows down. Holy shit, that will be a nightmare to deal with, especially given an Aflock 8% damage with Necrotic Aura. And then you can even stack up Decomp and his Curse of Fragility. And they have lower health, right? So it's harder to top them. Or sorry, it's easier to top them, but when they're topped, it's not as useful, and they're rotting the entire time from bigger damage from Necrotic Aura and your rot pressure and his rot pressure. So they're always in trouble, right? It is the bottom line, right? Imagine if they have so much less maximum health and they're always rotting. You heal them up to full and you're like, wait, you're still dead. You only have like way less health than you should be at, right? So you're still dead. You're always dead. That's the kind of exciting gameplay that should be coming in later expansions. Or sorry, God, later seasons. Could you imagine if we had to wait 2 expansions in the future for Unholy to be good? No. In later seasons, Season 2, hopefully, at the soonest would be great. What you'll have is you'll have that kind of, because Unholy, like we always talked about, has so many different sources of damage. It has pets, more pets, Unholy Blight to buff your pets, Mastery to buff your pets, diseases, range damage from clawing. It has so many sources of damage, and it's phenomenal in PvE, meaning the second it fits into the place of the meta and things slow down a little bit where rot pressure or just sustained damage or just constant damage matters, you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see how do we win when we're rotting and our health pools are so low because I have fragility and decomp on me or something like that. Some interesting combination. Or how do we handle stun silence go like BFA Season 4 from DK Shadow Priest when they have non-stop damage from 20 different sources, right? You can't peel it. You can't stop it. You can't CC all of everything that they're doing. You cannot peel all of everything that they're doing when there's 2 dots and 4 pets and another set of 2 dots and then another dot and then a stun silence go. So I've talked about that a lot, but the current state of Unholy is that that's what we're still waiting for. And all of that is probably good now, but the problem is people kill you too fast for you to do all of the things that work there. The meta is just a little too fast and you have a few too many buttons that you have to press before all of that happens, while they pressed one button and, darn, I'm sorry, you're dead. Oh, okay. Well, maybe just give me another fucking 15 seconds next time. I swear I'll counter pressure you, right? But that's not what people give you right now. So, current state of Unholy. We're waiting just a little longer, guys. If tuning passes come in, where they just start pulling down all those top-end specs, like Windwalker and Warrior and Ret that can burst that hard, Fire Mage that can burst that hard, right? Then maybe Unholy will have its time to shine even this season, but I think we're waiting for next. And here's another thing that you might want to wait for. Remember, this isn't it. These Covenants in this campaign isn't it. You think BFA Season 1 was it, right? You got traits, that was it? No. Then you got essences. Then you got more essences. Then you got corruptions. Now, I'm not saying corruptions were good, but there's going to be a lot of borrowed power systems compounding all together. And if all of those things give Unholy the speed it needs to get off that pressure, imagine all of those new systems with all of the pressure that Unholy already has and how good it is in PvE, all compounding to be the highest sustain spec, possibly, in the game, besides maybe Aflock. Yikes. So, there you go. Hopefully, there's another motivational message for my Unholy fans out there. Unfortunately, right now, a lot of Frost. Yeah. So, to all my Frost DKs, you're in a very good spot. Your spec is extremely dominant in 3s and in RBGs, which I'm actually going to do a push group this season. So if you want to come push RBGs with me, you can come to my stream. I'm going to push and try and get my stream viewers there 2,400. So very, very competent spec in that as well. The last thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, hopefully this hasn't gone too long, even an update video, I don't want to look, I'm not going to look, is 2s. A lot of people have been talking about 2s. I saved it for last so I could just have it be its own section entirely, so I could give it some love. Because DK and 2s, you know, there's a lot of things that are annoying for DK and 2s. A lot of things that just seem better than DK and 2s, so I just wanted to address that right now. So, yes, Arms Warrior Healer and Windwalker Healer are very hard. That is true. You're probably not doing anything unfathomably wrong. Maybe you are, but that's not the only reason why it's hard. What you need to do, setup goes just like you do in 3s, and keep chains on the melee forever. As dampening stacks up, if you've done a good enough job getting away from the melee DPS on every single one of their goes for the entire game and setting up all of your goes, you might win the mana race. It seems impossible when they have a Mortal Strike and you don't, but Mortal Strike isn't quite as good as they're never touching you. So if they permanently have chains, then, and you do all your goes right, you might win the mana race. So remember, it's just grip, blind, chill streak, AoE stun. I know it's not as good in 2s, but you're going to do it anyway. Chill streak is just as good in 2s because it just bounces between 2 targets instead of 3. That's just as good. But the AoE stun and the cleave pressure and the A-bomb slim, not quite as good. But the chill streak is just as good, which means you get them both low, and then they pop cooldowns, and then you run, and you chains, and you run, and you chains, and you kite, and you CC, and you live, and then you do it again, and eventually they won't have the toolkit to outlive it. That is what you do. It's hard, though, because they're going to do everything they can to stop you from, you know, getting your way and just freely kiting them, and they'll use their mobility and their charges and their gap closers. The best thing you can do is line, right? hug pillars, right? If this is a pillar, instead of just going out from it, just chains them, and run hug around the pillar, right? So just hug it, hug it, hug it, hug it, and just don't let them reconnect. Windwalkers have a charge now. Arms Warriors have a charge. And they do very good if they can get line of sight on you. But if you change them and hug pillar and your healers playing with you, you might be able to set up enough goes where you own them. As for DK state in 2s, sure, it can still push. It can absolutely still push. I still think Frost is actually better than Unholy, even in 2s, which is a testament to Unholy's misplacement in the meta, but I think Unholy can still work. You have a lot of sustained damage. You can them if you just rot them. Clawing Shadows, chains, pet damage, run, setup goes, run away, setup goes, run away. Your setup for a go is just pressing all of your cooldowns and then stunning both of them, either with like a Hodge on the healer and a stun on the DPS, and hitting whoever doesn't have defensives or whoever is lower from your pressure. And then once again, you have to kite and rot them. I think Frost having hard stop, chill streak, and an AoE stun is why it's still better in 2s, just because chill streak, like I said, very good in 2s. Yeah, chill streak is very good in 2s. 2 people, max damage, that's very good. Yeah, so what you want to play then is DK HPAL. I only do 2s coaching, so don't even look at that. I only do 2s coaching. Hard stuck 1600 DK. You want to play DK HPAL or DK Shadow Priest, and when you play DK HPAL, he throws Shock and Judge and a half Hodge on your go. Do not let him Hodge first. I think I talked about this in my comp video. Do not let him Hodge first, because you want to AoE stun, because you want them both to be stunned so the chill streak gets every bounce. If he Hodges first, then you can't stun the other guy without also using your AoE stun, which means you're just putting 2 stuns at the same time on the healer. So instead, you stun both, chill streak bounces, they trinket, he half Hodges. Perfect. For Disc, he just sends you do your go by yourself, and he sends a Mind Games and a Dark Arc on it, and man, that's fun. I've done some of that on my 2 stream as well, and it's very good. Excuse me. So that is 2s, HPAL Disc, both very good. Our Shaman also works. I don't think it's quite as fun, but it can purge during those goes, and even give you a Sky Fury for those big chill streak bounces. And that's everything. Like I said, I know not a lot of Unholy talk, but man, just get ready for that Season 2. There's going to be Unholy talk galore. I'm predicting it. I've been really good with my predictions so far. I'm hoping I hit that one too. That one might be a little bit of just a prayer as much as a prediction, because I want to talk about Unholy, because I know so many people care about it this season. Or rather, all seasons, because they care about it, because it's their favorite spec. So let's stay tuned for that. And that is my miscellaneous updates on all of DK right now. A lot of similar stuff, some changes. Everything is good if you play Frost. All right. I'll see you guys. Peace out. Hope it helped. GG's.